Happy Wednesday and welcome back to the Female Guides Requested podcast. This is your host Ting Ting from Las Vegas. Today I'm thrilled to host Lisa Van Sciver, a renowned mountain guide based in the Tetons with nearly 2 decades of experience. Lisa's journey is one of passion, balance, and profound impact. She'll share with us how she went from being a porter who thought guiding was ridiculous to one of the most respected figures in the industry, and how an early request for a female guide completely changed her career path. We'll talk about her unique strategy for achieving career sustainability in the feast-or-famine industry, the power of female guide collaboration, or as her mentor AmyBarnes calls it, the sisters of the rope, and why interacting with people, learning their stories, and witnessing their inner breakthrough is the most rewarding part of the job. Lisa also shares with us her recent venture, an inspirational fundraising climb up Kilimanjaro. She will walk us through her project, Elevate Education, which is about creating an experience much bigger than us, using the mountains to provide educational opportunities for students in Kenya. Get ready for an insightful conversation on climbing, career longevity, and finding purpose beyond the summit. Let's welcome Lisa Van Sciver. And before I start, can you pronounce your last name for me so I know that when I do the intro, I'll do it right?
Yeah, it's Van Sciver. So it's pronounced like sky, like S-K-Y. That a lot of times if people just hear it and they spell it, they'll spell it S-K-Y-V-E-R.
I see.
It was and I don't know the origin of it, like as far as it's Dutch, but I don't know as far as Van means from.
From sky? No, not really.
Sciver. I looked up Sciver once. I think it means slacker.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. No, that's a funny story. I actually just told today was when I was younger, I used to tell people that Sciver meant mountains. I used to tell people when I was a kid, I would tell people I'm from the mountains. My name means it. But I totally made it up. Like at 14, I made that up. And then later in my 20s, a friend who I had through that whole time period, Emily Stifler, she was telling someone that. And I was like, oh, no, dude, I'm sorry. I made that up. And then we looked it up, and I guess it means slacker. So I'm good at being like a sloth. Mm-hmm.
It's a funny story. But you know what? If you make it up, you can enough, then it's going to be the truth.
Yeah, I believe it. So
yeah, Emily, you believe it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's your name, right? It's not just some random fact. Yeah. Great. All right, Lisa, welcome to the Female Guides Requested podcast. Can you use your word to just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
Thanks for having me, Ting Ting. I'm excited to be here. Like a lot of other women have said, it's really awesome that you're capturing these stories. In preparation for being on this podcast, I went and listened to a couple different episodes, and I shared with you the other day, but it's like having a lot of my friends in my family room and hearing their story of guiding and where they came from. And I know it, but it's always different to hear it from the person. So thanks for doing that. We really appreciate it. I'm Lisa Van Sciver. I grew up in New England, in New Hampshire. I can attribute a lot of my passion and drive to my parents, who are both super hardworking, passionate, and compassionate people. And they fell in love skiing together. So they raised my brother and I on skis. And so that's probably where my spirit for adventure came, and just probably connection also with outdoors. So grew up skiing in northern Vermont at Mad River Glen. where, we spend like 3 hours getting lost on a ski run in the woods and then pop out on some guardrail and ski home. And then growing up in New Hampshire and Vermont, always had plenty of access to forests and the outdoors. My summers were spent like exploring swamps, anything we could do to just spend like the entire day outside. And then from there, went on to a unique high school called Holderness, where there was a lot of outdoor programs and an outing club. And that's where I got introduced to like getting into the vertical world, rock climbing. Jim Schimberg, who's an awesome individual, is the one who introduced me to rock climbing. He was managing our outing club at the time. And he's one of those people who has like just a deep, true spirit for, I don't know, living on the edge and climbing and dirt bagging. It's probably the first time I truly encountered an individual like that. And I was totally taken. So yeah, I think that's sort of the framework for what then got me into playing more in the mountains and outdoors and eventually became my career.
Have you ever done any job that's not related to outdoors? And what did you study back then in college?
In college, I studied English creative writing. So I wrote fiction stories for my senior thesis. I went to a classic liberal arts school, probably focused more on rock climbing than anything else. But I used to say we majored in rock climbing at Colorado College, and then we minored in whatever we were studying, unless you were in sciences, because then you had afternoon courses. If you didn't have to be in lab in the afternoon, I probably would have gravitated to the sciences, but I think just the desire to be playing outside kept me in the courses where I'd be done by noon, or classes. And then any jobs not related to the outdoors. I mean, obviously all my first jobs, like pre-college, I was a secretary, I was a painter, painted houses. When I first moved to the Tetons, I was a gardener and landscape designer. So making people's pretty yards look even prettier. Did that for a while and started to go down that track a bit more. And I think the big thing that pulled me into guiding instead of that was I really enjoy people. And when you're just working in somebody's yard all day, you don't encounter a lot of different people. So yeah. And then I had a variety of like all kinds of service jobs, waiting tables and stuff like that.
So those like more or less of more like a gig job, like here and there.
Yeah, paying the bills.
I see. So you grew up in New England. The only experience, I only had one time skiing in Vermont. I don't remember what was it more backcountry setting or was that resort skiing? No? Yeah.
All resort skiing. Yeah.
Oh, resort skiing.
So when I was a young teenager, I went out to Colorado with my family. And when I was driving up the I-70 corridor, I looked around and my reaction was literally, who cut all these amazing ski runs? Well, they're avalanche paths. And I had no idea because back in New England, you actually like take a chainsaw out and cut down the trees to make the run. So yeah, backcountry skiing I didn't encounter until I was in college. I took my first Avi 1 course with Don Sheriff in Leadville, Colorado.
You went to college in Colorado, right? You said Colorado State College?
Colorado College in Colorado Springs, yeah.
Yeah. Was it because skiing or it just happened that way?
It's a couple things. Colorado College has a very unique style. You have one, it's called a block program, and you take one class for 3.5 weeks and you take 8 blocks a year. When I was in high school, I met some students from Colorado College, and they told me about the block program, and they told me about the block breaks, which is like the coolest thing ever because the entire school gets 5 days off after 3.5 weeks of school, and everyone just goes on adventures.
There's that's interesting.
Yeah, there's lots of climbers who come out of CC because of that reason, I think. And so I wanted to go to the college. I always wanted to go to Colorado College as soon as I met those folks and saw like their lifestyle and their adventuring.
So you were attracted by their structure. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to go
3.5 weeks. It just seems kind of sweet. Yeah. So it's not about like their particular program or what they are known for, but then it's just like the schedule and then the Colorado itself.
Yeah. I wanted to go out west for sure. Like I was looking at a variety of schools, anywhere from Washington State, Oregon, Colorado. But I was particularly attracted to the block program. I think it's a little more like life where you focus on, we always have a lot of different things going on, but like you deep dive into one topic at a time.
And why did you want to go out west?
Mountains.
Yeah. So it was good in New England, various terrain growing up, but then you just like, I need to see something bigger.
Yeah. I like climbing mountains, and bigger mountains are more challenging and more complex. And there seem to be more of them out west.
And then, so you dabble in all those gig jobs. Then how did guiding intersect with your life?
Well, yeah, that's funny. My friend Nate Opp always likes to say that I married into the mountain guides. I was dating the son of the previous owners of Jacksonville Mountain Guides. And so when I arrived in Jackson, Dan Carson, at the time, he was not a mountain guide, but we just knew all the guides. They all lived out at Magpie and they all lived around me. So they were just all my friends. So eventually I ended up portering for the company. And I used to always say, I don't want to be a mountain guide. Like it looks like a lot of work. You're taking people who shouldn't be in risky places into risky places, and then you're telling yourself you can manage that. So I was like, that seems ridiculous. But so I was working as a porter. So I'd carry the propane tanks to high camp, and I'd carry like heavy backpacks through the winds for people so they didn't have to carry their gear. And then one day, okay, this is awesome. This is the title of your podcast. One day there was a request for a female guide. And they didn't have a female guide. So they sent their female porter with a guide. And then after that trip, they just started sending me out as a guide. And the paycheck was good enough that I kept doing it.
At that time, you were a porter.
Mm-hmm.
Before they send you there, did they at least give you some sort of training?
Not much, but like I had already been on the trips as a porter, and I was also a climbing partner of a lot of the guide staff. So, back then it was a little more like that, especially with mountain guides. It was a small operation, and they would just hire people who had a really good climbing resume.
When you say back then, back when?
When I started guiding, I guess I was probably like 27, 28, so 07, 08. Yeah.
So at that time, it's like, okay, I know you can climb. I know you know the guides. And they want the female. Lisa, go.
Yeah. And they sent me with another guide, and he was kind of like overseeing it.
I see. Yeah.
I mean, if you know Jed Workman, he was off doing something else.
Great. Originally, you didn't want to be a guide. And now you're like, it's not that bad. So compare that with your porter job. What made you change your mind?
Well, portering's not sustainable. It's like very sporadic work. You always have another job. Like at that point, I was probably still landscaping and doing the occasional porter gig. And like I said, I think the thing that really pulled me into guiding instead of landscaping was just the interaction with people. I think that's
interaction with people.
Yeah, that's sort of the most engaging and rewarding part, I think, for me, is like meeting these people and challenging them and taking them up a mountain they didn't think they could climb, or getting them to learn how to make a certain movement on the rock, and suddenly it opens up. It's like giving someone the keys to the car. They start to gain a little freedom and show them how to do it.
So in landscaping and probably porter, you didn't have any interaction with anybody, right? It's more like a solo. quest.
Yeah.
And you think you were talking about not sustainable. Do you think guiding is sustainable enough? Or do you also have to juggle different things at the beginning at least or something?
Yes. No, I just more sustainable than portering. Definitely it depends on the individual. I think, as I get older, my big question is how to make it sustainable. Like, how do you, and I had pretty awesome mentors with that, like AmyBarnes, watching her adjust her objectives over time and sort of like, okay, now I'm going to just put up top ropes of the city of rock. Or I think guiding can be a super long career, but you have to be very dynamic with it.
Can you detail so I can learn some wisdom from your observation of Amy too? Like, what did you pick up?
From Amy?
Yeah, you mean like sustainable, make this job sustainable. You say just seeing her adjusting from, she started guiding very early on and toward the end.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. So Amy became my best friend probably when she was about my age. So we had a good solid decade plus together. And yeah, I learned a lot from Amy. I mean, she taught me. I remember one time we were driving through Vegas. You'll appreciate this. And she had some clients come from out of town and they're following us to the casino. And she goes, yeah, the AMGA doesn't teach you this, how to get your clients through Vegas. And that was just constantly Amy, like life hacks, right? She's all about the life hack and how to just like move more efficiently. But of course, she had a very different path being a guide because she truly was like really the only woman. I mean, she wasn't the only woman, but amongst her peers, she was always the token female. Whereas now we have like, there's great camaraderie in groups of women and we're in a different phase for sure. But yeah, I'll try and add some more Amyisms.
And what kind of adjustment do you make though to make this job more sustainable too?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it's like in all facets of life, right? You need to find balance. And I think guiding is just a more demanding job. I was thinking about that just in preparation of this podcast is like, the thing about guiding is you don't always put your own oxygen mask on first. Like you're always trying to take care of everyone else, the airplane analogy. And like you kind of forget to take care of yourself. You don't forget, but you become your lowest priority. You give yourself the least amount of maintenance that you need to get through a big objective, which is what you do, as an alpine climber in general. You're like, oh, hey, pack light, bring as little as you can. Like, what do I truly need to get through this? But I think guiding is really challenging like that. Like, how do you prioritize yourself and take care of yourself? And there's all kinds of issues from the physical, financial, mental. I mean, I think something guides hugely struggle with is just the seasonal work. While we love it because it gives us freedom, it's also really hard to be like overemployed to unemployed. I think mentally it's hard. Like, but I also personally think I would struggle way more with a 9-to-5 steady schedule every day.
Right. So we have the flexibilities, but we have this feast and famine type of work schedule that we need to be prepared for and plan for that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I think that's hard mentally to manage.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who have gotten out of guiding for that reason.
Because of scheduling, you mean?
Yeah, it's hard on relationships. It's hard on personal, mental, and physical maintenance. It's hard on your finances. You never really know where you're going to fall.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there must be a driving force that made you stay then, right? How many years have you been guiding?
That's a great question. Let's go with 18. I think that's a good number.
Okay. 18. Yeah, that's a good number. Which actually it's quite long comparatively.
Yeah. I think where I've found sustainability for myself is I've always had a second career. It has been in the outdoors. I've never been a full-time year-round guide. I've been a ski patroller. I've been an avalanche forecaster. I've spent, 6 months of my year for many years focusing on snow and studying snow stability and snow structure. So I think that has helped add balance for me and kept me from getting too burnt out. Like certainly at the end of a given season, it's hard not to get burnt out, but I think it'd be really hard to just do full year-round, full-time guiding.
So some diversity there. So some maybe a little bit less physical demanding, a little bit more stability, and then combined with guiding, like out there, taking people
Yeah,
out.
and there's all types of guiding. If you're co-guiding, that's a little easier because you have someone else to lean on. If you're just even the ski guiding I'm doing now in the Tetons, like it's a lot when you're hanging out with the people. Like the nice thing about technical guiding is you get away. You're like, okay, I'm going to clip you in and climb off over here. So you do get moments for yourself. Whereas with ski guiding, you're like with the person all day. Like expedition guiding, you're with them for a month. So it's all like, what is your ability to be able to entertain? I think that's something else I really learned from Amy. Like, as much as we're technical guides, we're also entertainers. Like we are creating experiences for these people. And so like, what is the progression? She was so into the progression for a client. Like you don't just take someone from the Grand Teton and take them up the Middle Teton the next day. You got to like tell them to come back or work them through different progressions. And that being a guide, like your good clients, like they come back because you're like taking them to the next step.
Right. And do you have any specific thing that you like being with people that you mentioned? You like to work with people.
I love learning people's stories. I think, and guiding is a really cool way to do that. I think when we take people out, we make them pretty vulnerable. We expose them. It's another Amyism, the stir of emotion, she'd call it. Like when people get to that point of the pitch where like you get so engaged or focused or terrified, other emotions come out. And Amy used to prep people on how to engage that. She wouldn't just send them up the wall and be like, good luck, get to the next jug. Another big mentor of mine, Steve Quinlan and Greg Collins, like just the way they'd interact with the guests, they'd learn their stories and then they try and like make those people comfortable. They were always like complimenting them and saying please and thank you. I just really enjoy those kinds of interactions with people, the different people we get to meet guiding. If you ever work with like some veterans or military groups, they all just bring such a different perspective to the mountains. And then, of course, I love the guide culture, right? So then there's that side of it is like our community amongst people like you and me. I think that's a very rich part of the career for me.
Yeah, I certainly love to learn my clients' stories too. I like to talk to them, even though that was my biggest fear when I started guiding. I don't know how to talk to people. But I think I'm getting better. And so do you have like any set question that you try to break ice or you just see what's going on today?
Yeah, it's more I'm like sort of the opposite of you. I don't know how to not talk to people. Like I remember I had a silent client one time and it was a one-on-one. It was a 4-day Grand Teton. And the first day I was like, how am I going to do this? Like I cannot get this guy to chat with me. And then I realized like, oh, that's okay. That was nice too. But I'm a small talker. I don't like to get too personal with people. I like them to share what they want to share. So I don't ask the deep questions, just really kind of like, I love learning about have people ever climbed somewhere else before? I mean, something I've learned about a lot of my clients is that they've climbed with Ting Ting in Vegas. But, you just kind of slowly engage like, okay, you're here because you like nature. You're here because you want to climb, and start from there. And then all of a sudden you start to have some common themes come up. Or, I mean, you can dive right into asking people about their career. I usually wait a little bit for that one, but yeah, all of a sudden you're guiding like a pharmacist, or like all the different interesting people I've met over the years. And then my favorite is when we start to parallel our lives. Like you have someone who's in finance and they're dealing with the same work group dynamic problems that I am as an avalanche forecaster. You're like, wow.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the human experience is so similar. So yeah, that's kind of some of the chatting I progress with people. And then I probably share too much. I'm like, oh, that's my whole story.
No, those are interesting. Yeah. Right. So I like that. It's like, okay, the parallel, and then you share some common experience. You can even steal some like trick from them.
Every time I learn so much. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to my boss and say that. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Nice. So you mentioned about the guy culture. I mean, I actually don't know what that is exactly. Like, even though I'm a guy, so what is guy culture?
Well, you mostly stay in Vegas. So you probably see like the group of people who seasonally come to Vegas every year. There was a phase of my life where it was like, yeah, you go from one mountain and then the next, you'd see everyone on Denali, and then you'd see them all in the Tetons, and then you go to the, Moab in the fall, and you see the same people there. And it's that community of like transient people who just want to spend their life in the mountains.
There are more and more guys, but somehow between you and another guy, somehow the connection is not very. You don't have to jump that many people to know this person, huh?
Yeah. It's the community surrounding it, the people that you've known for, well, I guess now that I've been in it for as long as I have, for several decades. And I think that's a big part of JHMG too. And maybe a little different. The mountain guides in Vegas might not have it as much, but like the community here, the guys who ran the office when I first got hired, like we were all family. Like we would just look out for each other. If something happened, we'd take each other out to dinner. There's just a different level of depth than your typical coworkers. I think it's because of what you experience. I mean, you have a season where you lose one of your seasoned veterans on the mountain, and it's like the deepest connection. And similar with ski patrol, it's like we go through these day in, day out experiences and we have to support each other. We want to. I want to support my coworkers and my peers, and certainly females. That's something I really learned from Amy, like getting into this industry felt way more independent. And once I met her, I'm like, oh no, there is a collaboration of females and we have got to support that. It's super important.
Yeah, you're not the first person, and you will not be the last person telling me about Amy really bring a lot of newer female guy under her wing. Amy passed away. Is there anybody else doing similar thing too? Or right now it's more like organic happening?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Like there's the mentorship component. And I mean, for me, that was always super organic. Like I never was assigned a mentor. It seems like these days people are assigned mentors, but I think it's always happening. It can be more challenging. I mean, while Amy was a great female mentor for me, I had a ton of male mentors through the industry as well. And they always the thing I love about the mentorship that I encountered is they were always my close friend. But they were clearly like my senior, but they never acted that way. It was never like, you're my mentee, I'm teaching you. It was always like this very dynamic relationship. But I think it's always happening both ways. Like one of my favorite older females to get out with, this woman, Margot, she was one of the first female ski patrollers here at Jackson Hole. And she says I'm her mentor and I say she's mine. So yeah, I think it evolves to a point where like we mentor mentee is interchangeable. Like we're always learning from each other.
Yeah. And I'm wondering whether it's because where you are at. So Teton is not huge. How long have you been there?
Just over 20 years.
And what brought you there from? Is it after Colorado?
Yeah, skiing.
Skiing.
Yeah.
Right. And then you just decide to stay there for a long time. Now 20 years almost.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Still here.
Because then I'm wondering whether, because like Teton, well, compared to Vegas is quite spread out. And there's a lot of other type of people, not just guides. And then it seems like Teton is a very outdoor oriented place. Is that true?
Yeah. We're a mountain town full of athletes. And the thing that we have for the guiding climbing side of things is a very rich history. The Tetons, like, you can't quote me on this, but it's some of the original guiding in the U.S. occurred here with Paul Petzl when he just would take people up the Grand Teton because they give him some money before he started Knowles, and then Glenn Exum started Exum Mountain Guides as one of the earliest guide services, I believe, in the U.S. So I do think there's a really rich history here, but I think adds to that. Just having that, like I work. When I got hired on with JHMG and was working with Steve Quinlan, he had been working there as long as I had been alive.
So right now, there are more female guides, right? Correct? Do you think it's significant more over the 20 years that you've been there?
I have had an interesting time in the Tetons with JHMG and female guides. When I first got to JHMG, there was this group of really talented, amazing women like Sue Miller, one of my closest buddies, Julia Niles, Lynn Wolfe had just gone over to Exum, but had been with JHMG forever, Georgie Stanley, Chrisanne Crysdale. And these women were like the first generation of JHMG guides. I mean, obviously Julia came in at the tail end of that. She was, she's more my age. She just started pretty young with the mountain guides. Then when I arrived, there was a bit of a lull with females. Erica Engel came through for a stint. There was the occasional female, but I was honestly one of the few for most of my career here in the Tetons. Then AmyBarnes came in. Amy actually started guiding in the Tetons when she was my age, which is hilarious because most of us are like looking for our exit strategy when Amy started. And then, and so Amy came on and we got to work together a bunch. And then there was like the next wave of like Izzy Lazarus and Rebecca Yaguda and Peggy and Holly. And so, that's like kind of been the next wave, and that's been wonderful, and it's been a nice growth. But in a given season, to be honest, there's a lot of the summer where we'll only have like 1 to 3 female guides available. Over an entire season, we probably end up with like more like 5 or 6 on our roster. But like, as we all, for me this summer, I'll be out in the Cascades a little bit, or, I'll miss a month here or there. And so we kind of float around. But there is a good amount of female guides. It's still thin for sure.
Okay. Have you guided other places too?
Up in Alaska for AMS, and then I've definitely worked on a lot of different permits, but I haven't been like regular on the roster guide at those places.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious that. Do you think the low number of female guides concern you, or do you want more?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's wonderful to work with women. And I think females make really great guides because they're really thoughtful. Not always. I mean, this is totally generalization, but they have just by biology have nurturing in their just general thought process. And I think that's really important just for checking in on your clients and stuff. I think women, they bring a softer side. Okay, so up at our high camp at GHMG, we have these journals. And guests who come up, clients who come up and stay, write something in the journal. And this was written before my time. I believe it was written when Sue Miller was guiding this group, and they wrote 10 reasons why your female guide is better. It was the most hilarious list. And it's like, because she knows the names of the flowers, because she asks you how you're feeling, because she lets you take more snack breaks. It was so for me, the way I think guiding works, if people want to go past just like an entry level, meet your guide in the parking lot and go up a mountain or do a day of climbing, is you develop a relationship with a person. And I think both males and females bring different qualities. And depending on the client guest, I think they'll gravitate to different types of people. I think it's great to have more women and diversity in the industry for the obvious reasons. It just makes it more approachable. And it also, you've sat in on meetings, right? If you have a meeting of just a group of women, it's going to have a one-sided view. So when we have an industry that's mostly male dominant, it's going to have a one-sided view. Whereas I think having 2 or 3 women in leadership teams can help create a different perspective, which is always helpful.
I just interviewed a Yosemite guide, and she mentioned that Yosemite have this intimidating culture, right? So people who feel that if they want to go to work in Yosemite, they have to climb really hard over there. The culture might be competitive. And so I'm curious whether like Teton Valley has some similar theme, because Wyoming, right? So it's this cowboy culture. And then Tetons, like there's a really hard skiing. And then there's also, as a fact, statistically, everywhere there's not as many female guides. Do you think it will prevent people who go there?
Prevent like clients and guests from coming?
From guys who want to go work there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing you have that's challenging to come work in the Tetons is Jackson Hole.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. There's not much public camping. Roads are super crowded. Yeah, it's like kind of just a little Disney World in the summertime. So that can be super challenging for people to like break in. It's not, I mean, Moab's gotten worse. Like it's really hard. Even Vegas is hard just to like come crash. At least it's a little less expensive. So you're more likely to have a friend with a couch. But yeah, I think that intimidating culture exists a lot of places. I don't think just women get intimidated though. I think men coming into it, or young men coming in the industry as well, probably encounter that. The Teton culture is shifting. I think that for a long time there was this expectation that if you didn't like solo low 5th class, don't even show up here. Which there is some truth to that, of like just the travel in the Tetons. Like if you're not comfortable like soloing 5'5", then you probably shouldn't be guiding here. If you know. But at the same time, that should never be the standard of like you need to solo. Like no, we should talk about like how to be safe in the mountains first and foremost, and then. But I don't know if it's. I think it is intimidating for women. Yeah. I think also the Teton schedule is just challenging. If you want to have a life outside of guiding and being a climber, it's like you're gone all summer.
But I definitely know a lot of female guys there, so people certainly work there and make it work. And you are there for 20 years.
Totally. You can make it work. And it's, personally, I think it's awesome work. It's like dry rock. You get to go like mountain guides. We have a 4-day progression. So you're up at high camp, hanging out with your coworkers. You can let the clients mingle amongst themselves. We can go off and crag around high camp. Yeah, it's a really it's a really great place to spend the summer. And the guiding's challenging, but it's not unreasonable at all. It's like long days of walking and then a technical day. Yeah.
And then so you guide mostly on snow? Do you also guide on non-snow terrain? Like, yeah?
Yeah. I've done a bunch of guiding in Moab Desert. Yeah. I mostly guide on the mountains, there'll be patches of snow, but by August we're dry rock. And like I've guided like Elephant's Perch and the Wind Rivers, that's all dry rock. We do Gannett, which is snowy.
Snowy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Wings and Tetons with the mountain guides, right? The Elephant Perch is not, right?
No, that was with Sawtooth Mountain Guides.
And then how did you end up there?
Sawtooth Mountain Guides?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just had a mother-daughter, and that was their objective. And actually, probably after I got my rock cert is when I met Eric Leidecker. He was my examiner. And I knew him, and I just called him up and said, hey, can I come guest guide? And he let me come up and use their permit.
I see. Yeah. So you have like your past clients want to do that.
Yeah.
I see. Nice. Yeah. And then early on, you're talking about the term exit strategy. Things like you say, at this certain age or whatever the age might be, you're like thinking about exit strategy. Is that something common you observe? And are you at some point thinking about exit strategy too?
Well, we always joke about that, in this sort of blue collar outdoor world, whether it's ski patrolling or, like some of my friends have guided Denali like 20 times. You're like, good God, like how sustainable is that? And so that's always kind of the joke, like what's my exit strategy going to be? And I guess it's not really a joke. Like we all need to figure out how we're either going to make enough money and retire or have some level of work that sustains us into an older age and keeps us engaged. I don't have mine figured out yet.
But have you been thinking about it though? Or you feel like at some point you need to have that finalized?
I like to live in the present. Not to totally avoid the answer to that. I do think about it though, for sure. For me, I don't know. I think mental health issues are really important. Body work is, sort of structural alignment. I've been practicing yoga since I was 15 years old. So yeah, something maybe in that realm. I love education. I think that this is a career you could evolve into education. And then I also do think there's lots of parts of guiding that don't have to be as physical. Like there's a lot that comes out of experience. And so are you designing programs? Are you working as a mentor? I could always fall back to waking up early and avalanche forecasting. So for me, it's all about having like a variety of options and just always being flexible to the pivot. Like just trying not to be too rigid, not attach my identity to a career or anything too specific.
So it sounds to me it's not really an exit strategy. It's more of like adjusting according to the conditions. Just like when we are guiding, we adjust.
Yeah.
Right.
Like so a lateral movement.
Right. So it's still like you are still in your field. It's like this big picture is still guiding, outdoor related, but under this big umbrella, you're trying to balance, right? It's depending on,
Yeah, it's all a balance. Most recently, I've launched into a slightly different project. I spent the last year and a half working on a fundraising trip to Kilimanjaro. Well, so not that that's my exit strategy, but it is sort of more of like a shift of using skill set, I'd say. It's probably from the values I've learned from my parents. And so my parents established an organization over in Kenya that puts kids through high school and university. And they started that 16 years ago. And for several years now, I've mentioned it would be really cool to combine my skill set with the work that they're doing. And I finally started the project like fall 2023. And it was a huge project. It was like, I thought, I'm a guide. I can get some people. I'll take them up the mountain. We'll raise some money. It'll be great. It's like, I never even got to my wheelhouse's skill set. It was all fundraising, sales. I was doing webinars, public speaking. Then I decided to make the project even more complex. And I chose 2 young women who are university graduate students from EFAC program. So they're Kenyan, they're young 20-year-old Kenyan women who just graduated with a college degree. And I took them with me to Kilimanjaro. So in order to prepare for that, I went over in October and took Ivy and Harriet up Mount Kenya. And that's the first time either of these women had been camping or had any exposure to that many days in the wilderness and outdoors. I mean, Harriet at least is from a very rural life. So like she understands living in the sticks, but it's completely different when it's like voluntary versus mandatory, like we choose to go out and camp, whereas, her lifestyle is just how she grew up. But yeah, it's a hugely rewarding experience. We raised enough money to put 4 kids through the program. So they'll go through, we raised $35,000 and that'll put 4 kids through high school and then on to university. I brought 3 Americans over with me for the final Kilimanjaro trip. And we all summited with the 2 Kenyan girls. So
nice. Let me get this straight. So your parents have this nonprofit and basically to raise funds to help kids go through higher education.
Yeah.
All right. So you use your skill set, which is climbing and outdoor skill set, to raise funds so you can also help some kids go through higher education. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also using the mountain climbing aspect to attract people to the project. So in my mind, like this specific project was called Elevate Education, or Climb Kilimanjaro and Elevate Education. But in my mind, the umbrella project, which will be a much bigger project and hopefully be more of these events, would be called Bigger Than Me. And it's taking the idea of going and climbing a mountain with somebody, but making it much bigger than just about like you and me summiting the mountain, actually connecting with the culture around us and then leaving a positive impact in our wake. I've kind of come up with the idea over years of myself just climbing and traveling. And like, I don't know if you've ever traveled to developing country to climb, but the whole time you're like, why do I get to do this? Like I'm out here just trekking around. I got porters, I got to cook, and I'm putting all my energy in going up and down this mountain. And these people are walking around collecting yak poop to dry it out so they can run their furnace all winter. Like, how did I draw these cards? And, the disparity just seems so great. And so I've just always I don't want to give up mountain climbing. I learned so much from the mountains and my experiences. But the first thought is why not take someone with us who doesn't have an opportunity, give them one. And then the other thought is how can we make these objectives about something so much bigger than us?
Yeah. And this is a project based. So this Kilimanjaro project is finished. Will you do more of these, or will you do more of similar project on this?
I mean, in an ideal world, I'll do both, more of both, and be able to come up with a budget where I actually get paid, for my efforts of putting it all together. But this is just the start of an initiative. So I would love to work with my parents' organization more, Education for All Children. And building off of their legacy has been hugely rewarding. but I'd also love to work with any organization people are interested in. So I guess the model would evolve into something like where people maybe even come to me and say, hey, I want to climb this mountain, but I also want to make this whole journey about more than just climbing this mountain. Like you could go to any part of the world and engage in, because where it comes from too is for me personally, like I love traveling, like it's a big part of my life, but I like to connect with the places I travel. And of course I'm a tourist and I'm going to pass through and do my thing, but it is a really more rich and deep experience when you can get to know people. And like these Kenyan kids, I'm in touch with them nonstop now. I mean, they've totally changed my life perspective. It's pretty cool.
And they changed your life. And what did they like? So you brought some to Mount Kenya and also Kilimanjaro. What were their experience they share with you?
Well, wow. I mean, their life experiences are so complex. Like
No, I mean, I know. I mean, I'm just saying for this particular project, for them, does climbing mountain mean something to them, or they just like, why am I doing this?
Well, the two girls I had, Ivy and Harriet, probably had pretty different approaches to it. I think Ivy would love to be a hiking trekking guide, and she would be great at it. Harriet really took on the initiative of the project, and her summiting the mountains helped represent like the success of putting other kids through school. And since EFAC had been such an incredible opportunity for her, she was very driven by that, which was inspiring to see. I mean, clearly both these girls come from such a background that like grit and drive, not a problem. They arrive with that. As soon as I could give them the skill set and pace them, they crushed. I mean, they did so good. Yeah. And I think also it's just like a really unique and enriching experience for them to have. When I went over in October for the prep climb, I did a bunch of community hikes with EFAC, and one of the hikes, 68 students showed up. So the big thing I noticed from that is that like hiking, like we don't realize it, but it's given like you and me, Ting Ting, like it's given us our life purpose to be climbers. And so many of the people who listen to this podcast, and these kids really don't have passion, and their purpose has been survival. So to have like a lighthearted way to just go engage with nature and have purpose and passion, a lot of them had never experienced that before. And that was really cool for me to see. Like I would love to find more initiatives to help bring that into people's lives who truly don't have that opportunity.
I see. I think that goes back to what you said is whether it's voluntarily or mandatory, right? And these two will give you a choice, very different meaning. Yeah. And how about you, yourself? What did the biggest lesson you learned from all this initiatives and all this client and interaction with the Kenya people?
I mean, it's always happening. Like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pin it on one biggest thing. It's like an ever evolving process, but the easy one to put on is just like the perspective change. I think it's shifted my own desires as far as like, like I still have a lot of desires of objectives I want to climb and things I want to accomplish in my life, but I think it just gave me more pause on like a greater awareness of what people deal with in the world and how I can continue to look for ways to be compassionate and supportive.
You mentioned about traveling is very important to you. Where did that come from?
Probably my family. When we were younger, my dad ran a pallet company, like wooden pallets. And he would shut his company down for 3 weeks every July, and as a family, we'd go travel somewhere. We went to Europe one year. We went sailing down in the Windward Islands one year, and then we went to we went to Jackson Hole in California one year. But my parents have always been big travelers, and they're about traveling to remote parts of the world. They love going to developing countries and like really trying to meet people and be exposed to the local culture. They were talking recently. I mean, my folks are in their late 70s. My dad's 80, and my mom's like, oh, we've gotten so boring now. We just, go to Kenya once a year and go to France. Like, we used to go to all these crazy countries. We used to go to Peru and like Bhutan. And so it's probably where, but I have always just loved, like, it's the same with guiding, like learning people's stories. And the last time I was traveling home from Kenya, I just met this guy from Uganda. And learning his story. And I mean, the African continent it's so mind-bending what occurs there. Like, I don't think that level of poverty could occur in North America because it's too cold. You couldn't have that many people just living outside in poverty. They freeze. Yeah. But yeah, I've traveled a variety of places. Europe. I've been to Morocco, Kenya, and Tanzania for Africa. That's it. And then spent a fair amount of time down in South America and Argentina and Chile over the years. And not that Alaska's outside of the U.S., but it certainly has a pretty different pace and culture than the continental U.S. And I've spent a fair amount of time up in Alaska.
So this project could be your pivotal moment too. Who knows? Right? Because you're still thinking about you could do something similar or something the same on the same line too.
Yeah, and I think everything just kind of builds off of itself. I've never been a super like goal-oriented person. I've never like set my sights on something and been like, I'm going to be that. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's more just been like a building of experiences and opportunities. Yeah, and this does feel like a grand collaboration of so much of that.
Nice. I mean, it's totally fine. I mean, live in the moment is nice. And, if we can, it's like, then at least you are not super worried, which is also a good outlook, optimistic outlook, I think.
Yeah, being worried is usually just a waste of energy.
For sure. And I also just saw this event that shared by the Mountain Guy Instagram about some women. I didn't really read into it too much, but I saw your face and Holly's face on it, and then the other woman, some like women-related, outdoor-related seminar, webinar.
Yeah, I know it's all it's a little new to me, but it's a panel discussion at a place here in Jackson called Poppies. It's happening next Thursday, February 20th. I believe that's the right. Yeah. And it's a panel of 3 different women, and the theme is women claiming their space in the outdoors. But it's myself and Holly, mountain guide perspective, and then this other woman who's a doctor who works for the Teton Climber Coalition. And then this woman, Danny Perry, is going to be running it and asking us the questions. But it's at a like workspace for women called Poppies. Yeah. Okay. And so I haven't been in there yet. I'm interested to learn more about it, but my understanding is it's just a good place for like women in business and female entrepreneurs to have a workspace and collaborate together, which sounds awesome to me. Brainstorming from other industries.
So you will be there representing the outdoor industry and to occupy the space, the workspace.
Yeah, I think it's just like a panel talk of the 3 of us women. I think it's like a half an hour, 40 minutes. And we'll just sort of like, probably similar to a podcast, just kind of chat and collaborate on ideas on how women can be professionals in the outdoor world.
And what do you think? Do you have any initial thought about, do we women even need to have some sort of persona when we were in the workplace? Or, there's a lot of occupied space there. And sometimes I just like, well, what should I present myself? And after all, that a lot of times occasionally I think about that question, but then after all, I just like, I just gonna be myself. I never really think too much about it. And what do you ever have this pressure? Just like, okay, being a woman, I need to be a certain way.
I don't have that pressure. I'm with you. I'm just myself. I feel really fortunate. I grew up with a mother who is a force. She was the top at everything she really did as a professional. And she always worked in a male-dominant industry. She was a commercial real estate broker, and then a developer. And she never let it faze her. She never, even now when I talk to her, she's aware that she had additional challenges because she was a female in a male dominant world, but she would just go forward and work hard and accomplish as much as anybody. And she never would harp on the fact that she did have additional challenges. And then I have also had a father who was wildly supportive of me to be an athlete or anything I ever wanted to be. So yeah, for me, it's always just been the idea of breaking barriers to help pave the path for the next is a norm. So I'm really fortunate for that.
I think your personality and your upbringing help you. And what kind of barriers do you think for fellow women to get into this industry?
Guiding specifically, I listened to Julia Niles's podcast with you the other day. She's one of my closest friends, and she had a really good point about when she went through her AMGA track about how she just kind of arrived and operated in the manner that her peers, who were all males, were operating. And it was less collaboration. And she didn't necessarily get to, I don't want to say develop the relationships, but she operated in a different manner than she would have if she was just being herself. And I think those are the barriers that we're up against. There's always social pressure to fit in. Wherever you want to be in life. And as a guide, it's it is dominated by strong, fit, typically males. And so I think if you don't fall into that idea, it can be more challenging. The barriers are, there's many. I could say in some ways it's easier to get a job as a woman, but then it's harder to get promoted. I think that's been from my own personal experience. Everyone wants to add to their female roster, but then once you're there, you don't necessarily get the same treatment. And then also the dynamic with the clients. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just not fitting the mold of what they expected to get. It's they showed up for a mountain guide. They wanted a strong, buff dude, and they got this little girl. But I think breaking the barriers is just exactly what Amy and Margot did, just being the first at anything and not focusing on the fact that you were the first female ski patroller or the first woman to assist with the Bridger Teton Avalanche Center, or the first, Amy was the first in so many realms, but more just being we're just moving forward. We're just finally getting where we belong, having that approach to it more.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And maybe one last question. Sometimes I ask this. Do you have your favorite guide tool?
Coaching. and
coaching.
modeling for sure. Yeah, I think you can do so much if you can help people figure out how to move through technical terrain.
Nice. You mean movement like both in, say, climbing and skiing, like all those, okay, like body movement?
Yeah, like if I want people to ski a slope a certain way, I ski it that way. I don't
Oh,
say,
you
I make
model,
small
yeah.
turns and then I straight line it. Like it's,
Yes.
I find myself, I have to like break out of guide mode after I've been guiding a while. I'm like, no, you're allowed to walk faster. You don't have to breathe every step. You're allowed to like climb a little sloppy, or, you can just move how you want. Whereas when I'm guiding, I try and move in a manner that's easy for them to read how to move through the terrain, or how to pace their body, or how to just sag their body on their arms, whatever it be, to be more efficient and safer with their movement.
I see.
And
So
then,
you meant coaching by modeling,
yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
you, okay. You
And
do
then a
those
lot of like
things, yeah.
verbal coaching too, like please
Yeah.
grab this hold, please put your foot there.
Yeah, so those are my questions. Anything that you want to add in the conversation?
No, just I appreciate you and what you're doing. I think it's great. Yeah, I think I didn't realize it in the first half of my career how important the female collaboration is. But yeah, another Amyism. She used to call us the sisters of the rope, and there's a lot of truth to that. Like I think that's the best way we can break the barriers, is just continue to hold each other up and make it easier for each other to move into and through the industry.